This is NBC6 South Florida Today.
Well, much as we wish there was, there is no manual laying out of the complete ABCs of parenting. So parents need advice, or at least a little reassurance, right? And that's why South Florida Today is bringing you experts on the matter. Every Wednesday of the month of June, experts will be here answering your parenting questions and giving out their parenting pointers. Today's topic is temper tantrums. Ugh. And here to help us out is Beth Lefevre of Redirecting Children's Behavior, South Florida. So you counsel parents and children on making better choices behavior-wise.
Yes, we have coaching and classes, actual classes that we handle.
Okay, great. You know, temper tantrums are the most embarrassing thing for parents, and it seems like they can happen at any age and quite unexpectedly. What causes them and what should we do?
Great question. Anything can cause them. Fatigue, illness, children are out of their element. They don't know what to expect. Some children really need routine, and all of a sudden they're out of their element. You're in the grocery store shopping, and lo and behold, your child wants something and they have a meltdown. Most of the time it has something to do with fatigue. They haven't had enough to eat. It could be an illness set on. Some children continue to test. So there are, you know, a myriad of reasons why it happens.
Okay, now what do we do? Because we've all been there,
Yes.
or you have the pity for the poor mom whose kid is having a meltdown, feet pounding on the floor, face turning red. And I always wonder, what would I do in that situation?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been in that situation. I have. My son was about 8 years old, and he was at a soccer game, and I had to go to the dentist, and I had not warned him, by the way, today we're leaving soccer early. So I had just passed out all my flyers, right? I'm the parenting expert, and all of a sudden I say, okay, we need to leave, right? And it's like, oh no. And he started having a meltdown. One of the first things to do is look for early warning signs. And one of them is a disrupt. Okay, this happened, and he started getting agitated. I don't want to go to the dentist, right? And the first thing I thought of was, uh-oh, not here in front of all these people. And that's where we go as parents. Oh no, they're going to make me look bad, right? And so the thing to do is stop immediately when you have that thought and go to the place of, okay, what does my child need? Because tantrums happen when something is out, when they need something that isn't getting met. Right? And so a tantrum is just a communication. So if you can catch it right before. So what I did is I stopped and I said, okay, what does he need right now? And he needed to be heard. And so I just stopped and I said, oh, you don't want to leave soccer. You're really mad because we're going to the dentist. And he was like, yeah. And I said, wow, we'll see how we can make it up to you. I can see that I didn't prepare you. And it never happened. And I was like, oh, good, because I didn't want to look. I still had that feeling I didn't want to look bad, right? So one of the best things to do is listen to your children. If you hear them ahead of time, often a tantrum won't occur.
Well, I think one of the things that we make mistakes as parents is when the child melts down and you're so embarrassed that you either bribe him or you leave him. You start to walk away and let him have his meltdown, and when he realizes you're not around anymore, he'll try to follow. In other words, we're going to go to the dentist, but afterwards, if you're good and you stop crying, we'll go to Toys R Us.
Right. Doesn't that train him to have a tantrum?
And it also trains him to always expect a reward for everyday things that he has to do.
Exactly, exactly. And so one of the things you want to do is the very first thing, if it's a power struggle tantrum, right, you actually stop and calm them down. Try to do anything you can to calm them down, right? But you do not give in to demands. That's the number one thing. Don't bribe them, don't give in demands.
It's like dealing with a terrorist.
Yeah, because it only gets worse.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
It just continues until, you know, it's so big. And so you don't give in the demands, and then you actually listen intently. This is the need that you need, you know, that isn't getting met.
At what age do they give up the tantrums?
Actually, I know a lot of 30-year-olds that are continuing to doing tantrums, and their parents continue to support.
I've known people who do that too. They're called ex-husbands. But that's another story for another day. So, so you still maintain that the way to fend them off is to tell them that something's going to be out of their routine in advance. Yeah,
for some children, that's what they need. For some children, it's snacks. When they are fatigued, they're going to have a tantrum, so just get them to bed. Sometimes you have to physically move them. If it's food, carry food around. Some children are extremely hypersensitive, and my son always had a tag at the back of his, and it started getting him. It's like, okay, cut those things off. Like, there's many things you can do ahead of time to preempt a tantrum.
Now, what if you have to punish your child and you put him or her in solitary confinement, aka their room, for about an hour? The first time I did that to my son, he was 2. At 2 years old, all of the furniture furniture had been rearranged. He upset the bed.
Yes.
Everything. He did not want to be alone, and yet I didn't want to back down on my punishment.
Right. So one of the things we don't do is we don't punish. We actually use consequences. And you set up a site ahead of time called a quieting space. This is taken from Redirecting Children's Behavior, and it's a space that you create with your child so that if they start having a meltdown, you know, if they're going to go ballistic, you really get on their level, you touch them, you use very few words, and you say something like, quieting space. If they're not ready to go to the quieting space, you go. I mean, you actually move yourself to a place that continues to create calm, peaceful relationships, and you do not give in to tantrums.
Wow, there's so much more to learn, and there's a workshop coming up this weekend, correct?
There's a workshop this weekend. It's at the Educational Systems Seminar. It is in the June 14th, and Shelley Lefko is going to look at how our beliefs, she's coming in from San Francisco, get in the way of our parenting so that we can actually be better parents for our children.
Boy, that sounds great. To contact Beth at Redirecting Children's Behavior, South Florida, about this conference, or perhaps you want to seek her help on a one-on-one basis, call 561-445-0941. And now over to Bob with the bling.
Thank you.